What would happen to your brain if the sun simply stopped setting? Imagine trying to sleep while your room looks like it is 3 in the afternoon. Now imagine that happening every night for weeks. No darkness, no real night, just endless daylight. In parts of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and even Iceland, this is completely normal during summer. The sun stays up for 24 hours a day. Midnight looks like evening, 2 in the morning looks like sunset, and suddenly your brain has no idea when it is supposed to sleep. People start going on hikes at midnight. Kids play outside at 1 in the morning. Some people barely sleep at all. And scientists say this constant sunlight can actually change how your brain works. So, what really happens to humans when night disappears? Does the midnight sun affect everyone in the Arctic the same way? Or do cultures in Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Iceland experience it differently? Because living without darkness turns out to be a lot stranger than you might think. The midnight sun is one of the most unusual natural phenomena on Earth. Every summer, regions north of the Arctic Circle experience a period when the sun never dips below the horizon. For weeks, and in some places even months, daylight becomes continuous. In northern Norway, Sweden, and Finland, the sun circles the sky without ever setting. In Svalbard, it remains visible for more than 4 months. Even areas slightly south of the Arctic Circle experience nights that never truly get dark. The sun sinks close to the horizon, but twilight lingers and the sky continues to glow. For someone visiting from Southern Europe or North America, the experience can feel surreal. Midnight looks like late evening. 2 in the morning feels like sunset. The normal rhythm of day and night begins to blur, and the brain notices. The human body runs on something called the circadian rhythm. This is the internal biological clock that regulates when we feel awake and when we feel tired. Light is the main signal that controls this system. When darkness falls, the brain begins producing melatonin, a hormone that tells the body it is time to sleep. When sunlight appears, melatonin production drops and the body becomes alert again. But during the midnight sun, darkness never arrives. Without the usual signal of nightfall, the brain can struggle to switch into sleep mode. Studies in northern Scandinavia show that people often sleep less during the summer months. Many report staying awake longer and feeling unusually energetic late at night. Constant daylight suppresses melatonin production, which makes it harder to fall asleep even when the body is tired. Visitors often notice this effect immediately. After a few nights, it becomes difficult to judge when bedtime should actually be. But people who grow up in the north learn to adapt surprisingly well. Homes are equipped with blackout curtains that simulate darkness. Bedrooms are carefully designed to block as much light as possible. Over time, the brain learns to rely less on the outside environment and more on routine. Still, sleep is only part of the story. The midnight sun also changes how people live. In most parts of the world, evenings naturally slow things down. Streets grow quieter, people head home, and daily life gradually winds down. But in the far north, summer nights can feel like an extension of the afternoon. People go for walks at midnight. Fishermen head out to sea long after midnight. Hikers climb mountains when the sun is barely touching the horizon. In northern Norway, it is common to see people kayaking, cycling, or sitting on mountain viewpoints well past midnight, simply because the light makes it possible. Some locals even describe the midnight sun as slightly intoxicating. There is a strange sense that the day has no end. When darkness disappears, time itself starts to feel different. People stay outside longer, conversations last longer, and the boundary between evening and night almost disappears. Entire communities begin to shift their daily rhythm. While the biological effects of constant daylight are similar everywhere, the cultural response to the midnight sun varies between the Nordic countries. Norway is perhaps the place most closely associated with the phenomenon. Northern cities like Tromsø openly celebrate the midnight sun as a defining part of local identity. People gather on mountain viewpoints late at night just to watch the sun hover above the horizon. Tourists arrive from all over the world hoping to experience a glowing midnight sky. In Sweden and Finland, the midnight sun is closely connected to one of the most important traditions of the year, midsummer. Midsummer celebrations take place around the longest day of the year, right in the heart of the bright summer nights. Families gather near lakes, dance around maypoles, and stay outside late into the glowing evening. The endless light reinforces the feeling that summer has reached its peak. Finland adds another layer to this experience through its sauna culture. Many people spend late evenings in a lakeside sauna before stepping outside into the bright night air and jumping into a cool lake. Because darkness never fully arrives, these rituals feel timeless. The glowing sky reflects on the water, creating an atmosphere that feels almost dreamlike. Iceland presents a slightly different situation. Although most of the country lies just south of the Arctic Circle, Iceland still experiences extremely bright summer nights. In Reykjavik, the sun technically sets, but true darkness disappears for weeks. The sky remains bright with a long, lingering twilight that stretches through the night. Many Icelanders say these months feel unusually energetic. People stay awake longer, work later, and spend more time outdoors. Icelandic culture has also developed practical ways of dealing with the endless light. Blackout curtains are common in nearly every home. Parents often have to remind children that bedtime still exists, even when the sky looks like late afternoon. Further north, in the Lapland regions of Sweden and Finland, the midnight sun can last for weeks without interruption. Here the experience is even more intense. Reindeer herders sometimes work through the night because the light allows it. Hikers can travel across forests and mountains without worrying about sunset. The landscape itself takes on a different character. Lakes, rivers, and forests glow in a soft golden light long after midnight. But living with endless daylight is not always easy. Some people struggle with sleep problems during the brightest weeks of summer, and others report feeling restless or slightly disoriented. Researchers studying northern populations have observed seasonal changes in mood and behavior. Summer tends to bring increased activity, more social interaction, and a strong desire to spend time outdoors. Winter brings the opposite extreme. Months of darkness. Many people in the north say the midnight sun helps them mentally prepare for that long winter ahead. It feels like a time to gather energy. Long days mean long hikes, late-night conversations, and as much time outside as possible. Summer becomes a period of intensity where life is lived almost entirely outdoors. In this way, the midnight sun helps shape the rhythm of northern culture. But perhaps the most fascinating effect is psychological. When darkness disappears, the boundaries between day and night start to blur. People often describe losing track of time. A walk at midnight feels normal. A bike ride at 2 a.m. does not feel unusual. The sun becomes less of a clock and more of a constant presence. Yet the midnight sun is still very much a regional phenomenon. Large parts of Denmark, southern Sweden, and southern Norway never experience it. Even within the Nordic countries, the experience changes dramatically depending on latitude. Someone living in Helsinki might still see the sun dip below the horizon. Someone living in northern Norway may not see a sunset for 2 entire months. So the midnight sun is not simply a Scandinavian experience. It is an Arctic experience. It belongs to the northern edges of Norway, Sweden, and Finland, and to the glowing summer nights of Iceland. For the people who live there, it becomes part of everyday life. A reminder that nature still shapes culture in ways we rarely notice. Because when the sun refuses to set, the world does not simply stay bright. It becomes something entirely different. A place where night feels like day, time stretches endlessly, and the human brain learns how to live without darkness. And once you have experienced a glowing midnight sky, it becomes very hard to forget that somewhere on Earth, summer nights never truly exist.